Where are we coming from and where are we going as a nation? This question has just come to the fore. It has gained prominence in the wake of a series of violent activities in Devanganj, Sunsari district, close to Saptari district, very close to our porous, unregulated borders with India. Welcome to the program. If you have not subscribed to this channel, I request you to subscribe to it, comment on our presentation, and press that like button if it touches their hearts and minds. We are trying to promote citizen journalism, a kind of journalism that is far from corporate feed and greed. So every support, every like, every subscription, every comment counts. So make yourself heard by just supporting this channel. With this small request, let's continue. So this violence has been continuing for about a week. This is the time, to just not get carried away. There may be a whole lot of elements trying to stoke up that fire to just find our fault lines and play on them, to just muddy the waters and fish in them. But for us as a nation, as an ancient nation, this is the time to stop, to pause at least, and think. Let's go back a little bit. Violence has been a constant theme, a nightmare, if you will, in our contemporary history. This is the land, ironically, of Siddhartha Gautam and several other enlightened beings. But over the years, over the decades, over the centuries, I think we have we have been, knowingly or unknowingly, glorifying violence. I won't go back to like uh, hundreds of years. I don't. I won't go back to the bloodbaths of the bloodbath that just ascended, that led to the rise of the Rana autocracy. I won't go back to blood-stained chapters of Nepali history, but even the contemporary history suggests that like we have glorified violence, and in that process we have killed or at least severely injured our very peaceful nature. Remember the Maoist insurgency, a decade-long bloodbath that killed thousands of people, security personnel included, Maoist rebels included, and Nepali citizens that had absolutely nothing to do with anything, no crime whatsoever. Even if you like are acting against a criminal, there has to be a lawful process. The law has to take precedent. You don't take law in your own hands. That blood-stained chapter is not very far behind us. Then came the royal carnage, the royal massacre. Many questions remain unanswered till date. That blood-stained chapter is behind us, but there are a whole lot of questions. We have not come to terms with them. We have not bothered to answer those questions. Who was actually behind that macabre episode? What was the end goal? Who were the sponsors of that? As they say, dead men tell no tales, but we have just consigned, like we have assigned the guilt to some character and moved on without bothering to just conduct a very serious investigation, a no nonsense investigation. Ditto with the Maoist insurgency. All right, there was some dissent. There were grievances towards the Nepalese state. Maybe there were a whole lot of every system, every country has such grievances. There are people who have grievances against the state, genuine or otherwise. But who used that grievance? Who used that anger painting up to fulfill its vested interests? Whole lot of questions there also. What was the purpose? What was the end goal of that insurgency? Then came the Gaur massacres about 15 years ago. A series of violence. So, what is the end goal of this? We should be just asking this question to the powers that be. We should be making them accountable. There is this porous border, the bleeding borders, whole lot of activities taking place there, illegal activities as well, gun running and whatnot. It has become a safe passage for all sorts of elements. Outside of the border, it's pretty much unregulated. Like on the other side, there are a whole lot of watch posts and all that. So whenever there is the rise of elements, radical elements across the border, there is every chance that a similar rise will happen in Nepal, that fervor will transcend border and enter Nepal as well. An ill-prepared country, an ill-governed and ill-manned, not properly manned country. There are no uh, security, waterproof, if you will, security around arrangements along that bleeding border, and that is the greatest and the gravest threat to the existence, to the very existence of this nation. You can just ask questions also about the intelligence failure that led to this incident, to this latest spate of violence. And there are these days, as the events unfold, there are fears that violence may grip other parts of the country as well. And this situation will be quite conducive for the elements that are bent on weakening this nation to fulfill their vested interests. They have been at work in Nepal for quite some time, several decades. In fact, you can trace those activities uh, to more than 200 years. The Treaty of Sugauli, if you take it as the benchmark, you take it as the latest point of that resumption of activities, the start of fresh activities against Nepal and the Nepalese. So we are at a historic juncture. We are at a crossroads. We have never been this weak. We have never been this floundering in the history of this nation, and this incident This uh, violence comes at a time when we are at a historic low. This violence, the youths led protest that led to deaths of like scores of Nepali people just about a year ago. The Gen Z movement, if you will. So that is the chapter antecedent to this chapter. So if you just extrapolate, you will find that a series of activities have been taking place, and who is the prime target of these activities? Nepal and the Nepalese. Ethnic diversity, that's a great thing, but it has to be like well managed. And this border that is open on our side, always contributes to instability of this country. We have like displaced populations from Afghanistan, from Myanmar, from maybe Bangladesh, and a whole lot of people stream in through neighboring Indian states. And that is a huge security challenge for Nepal and the Nepalese. Sorts of activities like gun running, criminal activities that pose a very serious threat to this country. It's time we just stepped up border security. It's also time that we also keep in mind our diversity. Like there is this saying, this famous quote from George Bernard Shaw that I quote very often. That is, your freedom ends where my nose begins. We have several communities living close by. So they are just my next door neighbor may not share the faith that I just was born with, that I hold quite close to my heart. In that case, you have also to take care of religious sentiments and also make sure that informal settlements do not sprout along our very sensitive country, along the length and breadth of this uh, sensitive country located on a very important crossroads of geopolitics and geostrategy. There are talks of the Asian century. We have neighbors, super powerful nature neighbors that have been aspiring for greatness. So Nepal's interests should not be undermined as our neighbors just aspire to rise to greatness, and this presiding superpower uh, progressively gets weaker and weaker. So time has come to just be extremely sensitive toward our defense and security, towards diversity management, towards open borders, to step up our guard in the interest of Nepal and the Nepalese. And this is the time not to get carried away. This is the time to just celebrate our diversity, but also to just focus more and more on diversity, ethnic diversity management. I mean, this is not the time to just raise the temperatures. This is the time to pause and think and also make sure that our borders are secure, that we are in good terms with our neighbors, that we are extremely sensitive towards national defense and security. and make sure that elements with ulterior motives do not get to just that golden opportunity to use Nepal against Nepal and the Nepalese, to use it to fulfill their vested interests at the expense of Nepal and the Nepalese. This is the time to think long and hard rather than getting carried away by like anger, frustration, despair, and whatnot. So I request Nepal's political leadership to just take border security more seriously, to focus more on ethnic diversity management, to make sure that untoward elements do not get the opportunity to Nepal, to use Nepal as a launch pad against this very nation and the peoples. With this remark, I wrap up this edition of Soft Talk. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.